I still remember that Sunday morning, the day that was meant to be the happiest of my life, yet unknowingly marked the end of everything I believed in. The sun streamed lazily through the curtains of our living room, dust motes dancing in the golden light, and the smell of freshly brewed coffee lingered faintly in the air. I was in my usual spot, lounging on the worn-out couch with a half-open newspaper resting on my lap, savoring the quiet stillness of a weekend morning after a long and exhausting week. And then she burst in, Anna, my wife, the woman I had loved for 6 years, tears cascading down her cheeks in an uncontrollable flood. But it wasn't sorrow that painted her face. It was joy of such monumental weight it cracked the very foundation of my world. Her smile was so wide it almost split her cheeks, her breath coming out in shaky gasps. Jam James, she stammered breathlessly, her voice a fragile thread trembling with emotion, I'm pregnant. For a frozen moment, I couldn't move, couldn't speak. The weight of those words hung between us like a fragile glass ornament ready to shatter. Then I was overwhelmed with joy. I stood up, pulled her into my arms, spinning her around the room laughing. She clung to me as if this moment was the very air she breathed. For months we had tried and failed. The negative pregnancy tests, the quiet tears on my shoulder as hope dwindled, but now we were going to be parents. My heart pounded in my chest, buoyed by elation and relief. I whispered to her, my lips pressed to her damp hair, we're going to be a family, Anna, our family. Her tears only fell harder than tears of joy, of relief, of hope. I'm so happy, James. You don't know how much this means to me. I believed her with everything I had, and for the rest of that day I was on top of the world. I cooked her favorite dinner, lasagna with garlic bread, and poured sparkling water into wine glasses, pretending it was champagne to celebrate our new beginning quietly, just the two of us. That night felt like a promise, a flicker of light in a future we'd build together. But by the time the house was silent and Anna had fallen asleep beside me, curled like a fragile child seeking warmth, the flicker began to fade. Sleep eluded me, my mind raced with dreams and plans, baby names and nursery ideas. And then, in a restless moment, I reached for her phone lying face down on the nightstand. I'm not the kind of man who spies, but something didn't feel right. The phone unlocked easily in my hand. The last message was a notification banner from a contact saved as Jake. My breath caught when I read the line. Does he know it's not his? My vision blurred, the room tilted and spun. My heart clenched and sank. I set the phone down with trembling hands and glanced over at Anna, innocent, peaceful in sleep, and felt a storm rise inside me. I told myself to wait, to gather proof, to not let emotions burn everything to ash before I was sure. I wore the mask of the doting husband, smiling and nodding while Anna joyfully talked about ultrasounds and baby names. But beneath that mask, my world was crumbling. I hired a private investigator named Ron, a gruff, scarred man who looked like he'd seen every betrayal imaginable. When I showed him the texts and photos, he muttered, "You deserve better than this." Within days, he uncovered the truth. The photos came first, Anna in hotel rooms with a man I didn't know, laughing and clinging onto him like he was the center of her universe. The texts chronicled a secret life spanning over a year. And then the worst revelation, Jake was married, with a wife named Emily, 2 kids, and a perfect family that I realized was now as broken as mine. I felt fury, betrayal, and something darker, an icy resolve. I anonymously contacted Emily, sending her the damning evidence. Her reply arrived the next day, "Thank you, I don't know what to say. He's dead to me." The pieces were falling into place, but one question burned hotter than all the rest. The baby. Whose child was it? My heart was at war with itself, the hope I'd cherished, the love I'd blindly held, versus the truth clawing its way out from beneath the lies. Friday night arrived. Dinner was ready, steak and potatoes, Anna's favorite. She sat across from me, glowing and nervous, talking about the ultrasound she had next week. Then I saw it, the moment to fracture everything. "Anna," I said quietly, cutting off her sentence. The color drained from her face like ink spilled on white paper. Her fork hit the plate with a heavy clink. "Who's Jake?" My voice was calm, sharp, unyielding. Her lips trembled. "Jake," she whispered, suddenly small and fragile. "You know, the man you've been texting for over a year, the one you're sleeping with behind my back." Her eyes filled with tears and disbelief. "No, James, I don't know what you mean." I slammed the phone down and slid the envelope across the table. "The paternity test, it came back yesterday, that baby isn't mine." She screamed then, the raw, heartbreaking sound of a woman who knows she's lost everything. She tore open the envelope, and when the truth hit her like a thunderclap, she collapsed to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. I didn't feel pity, not anymore. "And one more thing," I said coldly. "Emily knows she's divorcing Jake. Looks like your secret lover won't be playing happy family with you anymore." Anna, soaked in tears and mascara, looked up at me from the floor. "You ruined everything," she gasped. I shook my head and turned away. "No, Anna. You did that yourself." As I walked out the door, the life I thought I had was gone, buried beneath the weight of lies and betrayal. And somewhere beneath the ruin, I knew I had to find out the rest of the truth. The days that followed after the devastating revelation blurred into a haze of restless nights and muted conversations. The home we once shared felt cold, emptied of laughter and warmth, replaced by an unbearable tension that clung to every corner like dust on forgotten furniture. I was caught in a relentless storm, torn between the desire to salvage what was left and the growing realization that our marriage might be a lie built on fragile foundations. Anna's tears had long since dried, replaced by a sullen silence and guarded eyes that avoided meeting mine. Her once radiant smile was reduced to a forced, broken facade. She moved through the house like a ghost, haunted by the weight of guilt I could see etched in every line on her face. But it was not just her pain I had to face, it was the unbearable ache of knowing the child she carried was not mine, and the betrayals that stretched far beyond what I had imagined. I found myself walking the streets at night, desperate for answers, for any shred of clarity. The world felt uncertain, familiar landmarks transformed into shadows and doubts. I kept returning to the paternity test, the cold, sterile truth cruelly confirming what the messages and photos hinted at, that baby belonged to Jake. But the more I thought about him, the more questions bubbled inside me, unsaid and unanswered. Jake was more than just a name in text messages or a silhouette in illicit photographs. Who was this man who had invaded our lives so completely? What had driven Anna to him? Was there even a sliver of love in their affair, or was it just lust, desperation, or something far darker? I decided to confront Jake. It wasn't a choice steeped in courage or forgiveness, but in a raw, uncontrolled need for closure. My private investigator, Ron, reluctantly agreed to arrange the meeting, warning me it might lead to more destruction. But destruction had already taken root. I only wanted to dig out the truth buried beneath it. The day of the meeting was gray, sky-heavy, with low clouds mirroring the heaviness in my chest. We met in a nondescript cafe on the outskirts of town, a neutral ground where the hum of conversations and clinking cups masked the tension between us. Jake arrived late, unshaven and tired, eyes dark with exhaustion or guilt. I couldn't tell which. When he sat down, my first impulse was anger, sharp and quick, like a whip crack in the silence. "You have a lot of explaining to do," I said, voice low and steady. Jake chuckled bitterly, rubbing the back of his neck. "I know, believe me, I hate myself for all of this. But it's not as simple as you think." "What isn't?" I shot back. "You destroyed my marriage, you cheated on your wife with my wife, and now you're the father of her baby." He looked down, then back at me, eyes hard but tired. "It started as a mistake, one night out too many, one bad decision after another. But Anna, she wasn't just some fling, it was complicated. She was lonely, scared, and so was I." I wanted to scream at him, demand to know why, how he could betray his own family. Instead, I forced the questions down, craving answers over rage. "Why didn't you tell her you're married? Why lead her into this mess?" His face twisted with regret, because I wasn't proud of it. "I loved my wife once and I still do, but life got messy, I made mistakes. Anna was a light in the darkness." His words felt like knives twisting in my heart. There was no justification for what they had done, and yet a part of me felt a desperate, painful empathy. As we spoke, I realized the layers of betrayal ran deeper than I'd imagined. Jake's wife, Emily, was more than just a victim. She was a casualty caught in a web spun by lies and deceit. And Anna was trapped too, not just in an affair but in a tangled network of emotion, mistakes, and broken promises. Back home, the silence remained thick. Anna refused to meet my gaze, and the baby bump she once showed off now felt like a haunting reminder of everything I had lost. Days bled into nights, and every moment was filled with the growing urgency to escape or to confront the unbearable truth. Then came the letter. An anonymous confession slipped under my door. It was penned in shaky handwriting, raw with pain but clear in its purpose. "Anna's not the only one hiding secrets. Some truths are darker than you know. Look closer, you deserve to know everything." My hand trembled as I held the note. Who could it be from? Another lover, a friend, or someone darker still? That night sleep fled again. My mind was a battlefield of doubt and fear. What else was hidden beneath the surface of our shattered lives? How deep did the betrayals go? And the most terrifying question of all, was there a chance for forgiveness, or was this the final fracture? The next day a package arrived, no sender, no return address. Inside was a small flash drive. My heart hammered as I plugged it into my laptop. What I saw shattered the fragile hope I had left: intimate videos, secret meetings, whispered conversations that revealed Anna's double life was not just about Jake. There was someone else, a shadow lurking at the edges, someone whose involvement changed everything. As the screen flickered with evidence of a conspiracy I never imagined, the room seemed to close in around me. The web of betrayal was more tangled, more poisonous. The father of the child might not be who I thought, and now there was no turning back. The room was suffocating by the time I finally closed the laptop, the evidence on the flash drive burning fresh scars into my mind. Those secret meetings, whispered conversations caught on hidden cameras, they portrayed a darker picture than I had dared imagine. It wasn't just Anna and Jake. This was a carefully concealed web involving others, and the tangled threads threatened to drag me into a world far from the life I once knew. I barely slept, My eyes were red-rimmed, my hands trembling as I pieced together the puzzle. Who was this shadow lurking in the background? Someone powerful enough to manipulate lives from behind a curtain of deceit and dangerous enough to silence anyone who threatened to expose the truth. Determined, I reached out to Ron again, the private investigator who had become my reluctant ally in this nightmare. Ron's face darkened as I handed him the drive. "This isn't just infidelity," he growled, scrolling through the files. "This is a setup, someone's playing a sick game and Anna's a pawn." The weight pressed down harder. I realized the pregnancy announcement, tears of joy, and my shattered trust were only the first acts of a drama far bigger than personal betrayal. Days later, I found myself parked outside a small cafe, a place where one of the videos showed Anna meeting a man described only as M. The name was a whisper, but now I was chasing shadows and whispers. Inside, I sat at a corner table, eyes scanning every face, searching for a clue, a crack in the facade. Then she entered, a tall woman in a sleek coat, eyes sharp and calculating. I recognized her immediately from the grainy video. She scanned the room with the cold precision of a hunter, then her gaze landed on me. The moment felt heavier than a gunshot. I stood, confronting her with a voice steady despite the storm swirling inside. "Why are you involved? What do you want from all this?" Her smile was a knife hidden in silk. "You think you know anything, but you're far out of your depth." Anna chose her path, and so did I. She leaned closer, voice dipping to a deadly whisper. "The truth about that baby, it's not just about who's the father. It's about power, control, and debts long overdue." My blood ran cold. I wanted to ask how Anna got entangled with this woman, but vanished before I could. Back home, the silence was unbearable. Anna remained withdrawn, her eyes holding a mix of guilt and something else, fear. One night, I confronted her again, desperate for answers beyond lies. "Anna, who is M? What's going on?" She hesitated, the walls around her crumbling in the quiet. Then, whispering through tears, she revealed fragments of a nightmare we never saw coming: debts, threats, liaisons forced under duress, a betrayal born not from passion but survival. For the first time, I saw her not as the enemy but as a woman broken, trapped in a game she never wanted to play. The baby bump grew, an unblemished promise in a landscape of shattered trust. And yet, with each passing day, the thread around us tightened like a noose. One evening, as rain hammered the windows and the house seemed to shiver with dread, the phone rang. A voice, distorted and cold, warned me to stop digging or face consequences. I defied the warning. That night, a crash shattered the fragile calm. Someone had broken in, rifling through documents, looking for something or sending a message. The fight for the truth wasn't just about my marriage or the unborn child, it was about survival. The house still smelled of rain and fear when dawn broke. Every shadow in the corners now seemed alive, whispering threats and secrets. I sat in the wreckage of our once safe haven, pieces of scattered papers and broken glass crunching beneath my feet. The intrusion was not just a break-in. It was an icy declaration that the truth I sought was dangerous, dangerous enough to threaten my life and the life growing inside Anna. Anna sat quietly in the kitchen, wrapped in a blanket, eyes hollow but alert. The fragile woman I once thought I knew was disappearing before my eyes, replaced by someone hardened yet hopeless. I wanted to reach out to save her from whatever darkness held her captive, but the walls she built around her pain were impenetrable. "Why didn't you tell me about him, about the threats?" I asked softly. My voice cracked with the weight of betrayal and fear. Anna looked up, her tear-streaked face etched with shame and exhaustion. "Because I was scared, scared of losing everything, scared they'd hurt you, the baby. I thought I could handle it alone, but I was wrong." Her confession struck me like a physical blow, the unbearable loneliness, the secret battles I was never part of. I reached out, taking her trembling hands in mine, feeling the fragile life beating inside her. "We're in this together now," I whispered. "No more lies." But the fragile peace shattered soon after. A second letter arrived, this time on embossed paper, no handwriting, only a cold typed message. It detailed financial debts Jake owed to dangerous people, debts Anna unknowingly stepped into. The baby wasn't just a child. It was a symbol of that debt, a price to be paid. "Keep digging and you'll lose more than that baby," it warned. Fear and fury warred inside me, but anger alone wouldn't protect us. I needed answers, a way out. I returned to Ron, pushing harder, demanding he peel back every layer of Jake's tangled life. And the powers behind what I uncovered was worse than I could have imagined. Jake's affair with Anna was only the tip of a sinister iceberg involving corruption, crime, and manipulation at the highest levels. Their lives, my marriage, our future, the baby were pawns in a twisted game of control. My desperation pushed me to confront Anna again. With the truth laid bare, we faced the impossible, a future shadowed by danger that threatened to consume us all. Then came the night that changed everything, a call from Emily. Jake's wife, whose heartbreak I had witnessed at a distance, was reaching out with unexpected courage. "We're stronger than this," she said, voice steady despite the pain. "If we join forces, maybe we can protect our children, expose the truth, and end this nightmare." For the first time in months, a flicker of hope pierced the darkness. Together with Emily, we would fight back, not just to save the baby, but to reclaim our shattered lives. The journey ahead was uncertain, fraught with danger and heartbreak, but I knew one thing. I would not let the baby grow up in the ruins of lies and betrayal. I would fight with everything I had to protect the fragile hope born from tears of joy and soaked in the harshest truths. And in that first fragile moment of dawn, as the city stirred to life outside our windows, I promised myself, this story was far from over. This story was far from over.